Men have a special hobby. They like to peek at the privacy of other people's mobile phones, and those little lovers of Wang Dehua are his favorite type. It's a whole day, but with the emergence of a so-called soul-calling app, men's nightmares are coming. Asan is an employee of a mobile phone factory. The boss brought some second-hand mobile phones to work that day. It is said that after the owner died, no one recognized the order, so it was low-priced, and it was planned to be resold. However, no one noticed that one of the mobile phones suddenly installed a software when it was turned on. And this software is the soul calling that makes people crazy. Since today is the birthday of the boss's daughter, the boss decided to go home first and let Asan deal with these mobile phones alone. When he left, he specifically told him not to look at the user's privacy. However, as a self-proclaimed peekaboo, Asan still looked up. At first, it was just some little lover's daily selfies. But as he looked at it, the viewfinder slowly came to the hotel bed. This made Asan look more amazing. However, the strange thing is that when the man readjusted the camera and was about to record the next wonderful process with his girlfriend, the light suddenly went out. Then the man seemed to see something terrible. He was scared and shrugged at the corner of the bed. In the end, he died. When Asan was terrified by this scene, a scary ghost climbed on the lens, and he was the girlfriend of the man who died. Then, on all the screens in the office, there was a girl's scary ghost face. As the atmosphere became more and more scary, it finally became Asan's own creepy picture. Asan finally opened the door and ran downstairs, but found the door locked again. Desperate, he had to run back to the corridor and vaguely saw a figure. However, when he walked in, he was scared to death. The boss had already died in the corridor. Before Asan could wake up, the scary ghost had arrived. Then he dug his eyes out. Since he likes to peek, he had to pay a painful price, and the creepy ghost summoning app had to start with a live broadcast. On this day, Li Shuyan from Shanling High School's haunted house was broadcasting live. She said that the club had developed a software called Ghost Summoning, which can summon ghosts nearby. And in order to confirm the authenticity of the software, they were also preparing to go to the famous local haunted place, Yuan Dongshang, for a spiritual broadcast. At midnight, a few people had just entered the mall when they were ready, and they saw a warning sign at the intersection. But for a few people, the more strange the place is, the more excited they are. After walking for a while, a few people found a pile of sacrificial goods on the roadside, and a strange doll. Before they could think more, they saw a big tree not far away. The branches with a few fallen leaves looked like some kind of evil sacrificial ceremony. This made a few people more convinced that there must be something they were looking for here, and in order not to offend the dirty things that may exist, they first took out the offerings prepared in advance and then went to the box for salvation. After everything was ready, a few people opened the ghost summoning software and tried to search for the ghosts nearby. But at this time, the candles on the altar suddenly went out, and there was a strange sound around. Suddenly, a few people turned around, moving back and forth, facing the offerings. Sure enough, the sound of food being refused echoed from behind. Is there really a ghost eating the offerings? But because they were too nervous just now, they didn't face the live broadcast camera towards the offerings. After the reaction, the commander rekindled the ghost summoning box. On the other side, Chiang used his phone to observe everything around him. In a funny second, in the picture of the ghost summoning software, a ghost shadow suddenly passed by. There were also strange noises around. Chiang ran towards the woods like a devil. Shuyan saw that the situation was wrong and hurried to catch up with him. But when he caught up with Chiang, the other party became unusually suspicious and said that he could see everything now. Then he turned around and ran towards the woods again. Shuyan had to turn around first, but the commander at this time was holding a magic instrument and kept reciting sutras. He seemed to be extremely panicked. At this time, Shuyan finally realized that the situation was wrong. He couldn't care about the live broadcast anymore and ran crazily down the mountain. But as he ran, he suddenly stopped, and his eyes became terrified, because there was a corpse lying on the ground. What was more shocking was that the corpse was actually Xu Yan's body. It was only then that he realized that a group of people had already died when they entered the mountain. At the same time, a woman who likes to stay up late to watch videos accidentally watched their live broadcast, and an inexplicable software was added to her mobile phone. What's more strange is that no matter how she hurts, the software will automatically install it back. At first, Xiao Mei didn't care, and she even went out to work with her sister. Unexpectedly, the two of them came to a brothel. It turned out that the sisters were brothel cleaners who helped the landlord to deal with the dead people's brothel scene. But in the middle of the night, the two sisters were really big. After the windows were tidied up, the two of them pushed the door and walked in. But as soon as they entered the door, they saw a large pool of red blood on the ground. In addition, the blood on the corner of the table made the brothel even more creepy. Xiaomei, who had little experience, was directly scared to return to her seat. Her sister thought that it was Xiaomei who stayed up late and didn't rest well, so she let her clean up outside, and she went to the innermost part of the brothel to check the situation. However, not long after, Xiaomei asked her sister to give her an acupuncture tool, but she couldn't get a response. Confused, Xiaomei searched everywhere, but the light suddenly went out in the next second, and the whole brothel became eerie. At this time, the door behind Xiaomei slowly opened. Seeing Xiaomei was so scared, her sister calmly said that it was normal for the brothel to shut down and told her not to be afraid. Hearing her sister say that, Xiaomei also thought that she didn't sleep well, so she knelt down. So she hit the pole and cleaned up the murder scene again. But then she suddenly felt that there was something staring at her. However, when Xiaomei found her sister and asked who the man was just now, her sister said that only the two of them were in the brothel and no one else was there. This made Xiaomei even more depressed, and she could only clean up the blood on the floor one by one. However, a drop of blood was seen on her face, which disgusted Xiaomei. She hurriedly climbed to the bathroom to clean up, but at this time, the sister who was alone in the living room suddenly found that there was an inexplicable software on her phone. Before she could figure out what was going on through the phone, the sister seemed to see something scary, and at this time, Xiaomei in the bathroom also felt something was wrong. Before she could think of anything else, Xiaomei came in and shouted her sister's voice. Xiaomei was terrified and her phone fell to the ground. However, when she was about to pick it up, a bloody hand suddenly came in. Such a terrifying scene scared Xiaomei to death. She hurriedly picked up the phone and called her sister, but the phone could not be reached, and at this time there was a strange sound of footsteps outside the door. In order to figure out the situation, Xiaomei took the phone out of the door. After seeing that there was nothing wrong with the outside through the camera, Xiaomei came out of the room, but suddenly she was scared to death. Xiaomei was so scared that she hid in the bathroom, but at this time, her sister called again and told Xiaomei to go home together normally. The strange things happened again and again made Xiaomei have to doubt whether she had encountered something dirty. She opened the soul-summoning software and wanted to see if there was a ghost in the house. As expected, when Xiaomei was studying, she really saw a terrifying shadow. And the strange things about the soul-summoning software are still going on. That night, her mother sent her daughter Zhenchu to the bus and told her to go to the city for a deep learning consultation. Although Zhenchu was impatient with her mother's nagging, he still got on the bus. But the strange thing is that there were only two people in the empty carriage, and the girl in the back seat looked pale and looked gloomy. What made Zhenchu even more terrified was that not long after he sat down, the girl appeared behind him silently and said she wanted to switch seats with him. But the empty carriage couldn't do that. Why did she have to switch seats? After being rejected by Zhenchu, the girl returned to the back seat, but she didn't look like a living person at all. When Zhenchu was scared to death, his best friend suddenly called. After a conversation, Zhenchu's tense spirit slowly relaxed. He complained to his best friend that his mother was too strict, and even went crazy. Then he said he met a strange girl. But then Zhenchu suddenly found that the strange girl had switched seats and was closer to him. Zhenchu opened the cell phone battery and wanted to see what was going on, but there was no one in the empty carriage. When he was confused, the strange girl flashed by again. In a panic, something in Zhenchu's backpack fell to the ground, and when he picked it up, he found his hands full of blood. And the strange girl was squatting behind him. At this critical moment, the bus stopped. It seemed that he had become a good girl overnight, and his mother was very satisfied after a light meal. It turned out that the girl in front of him was not the real Zhenchu. It was all her mother's doing. She thought her daughter was disobedient, so she specially found this ghost bus and changed an obedient soul to her daughter. And the real Zhenchu was always desperately left in this bus, until someone replaced him. This is the latest horror movie in Korea, Soul Calling app. Each story seems to be independent, but it is far from that strange soul-calling software. Is it ignorant of the tasteless or the extreme distortion of the human heart that will cause the evil to